All right, family. Good evening. Good evening. Good evening. It is 7 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. It's a Monday night, so you know what time it is. It is time for the Monday Message Recall. This is the opportunity we recap the sermon that was delivered this past Sunday at the Southside Church of Christ, 800 Elmira Avenue, Durham, North Carolina. And you can join us either on the premises or online at the Southside Church of Christ Facebook page and also the main YouTube channel as well. You know, we got the regulars up in here. We got brother Henry up in here from the Southern Hills Church of Christ. Good to have him here. One of the staples of this community up in here on this evening. So you know the rules. Go ahead and get the names. Go ahead, get your mom and them, your daddy and them, your cousin and them, your auntie, your uncle and them, all your friends and them, your mans and them, all your names to come up in here and grab your notes as we will recap the sermon that was delivered on yesterday. And you know, we are up in the month of remission. And you know, some of us need some things to be up in remission. We need some things to go away and some things to stop hindering us so that we can be not only physically healthy, but spiritually healthy. Come on, we trying to get our whole life together. All right, got my sister up in here on this evening. So y'all go ahead, come up in the room. As you know, I'm John Merriweather, the online minister for the Southside Area Campus. I'm joined here tonight by my wife.
All right, we back in the saddle again. Look, so happy to be here. All I'm going to say is all roads leads to homecoming. Put it in the chat. All roads lead to homecoming. So look, for those of you who will be traveling to the Southside Church of Christ for homecoming, Southside Everywhere will have our Grits and Grace event. It's annual. We do it each and every year. I'm going to put inside the chat the registration form for you to participate. If you want to come hang out with us, have some grits, have a little bit of grace during October 4th. October 4th is homecoming weekend, is that Saturday. Go ahead and hold your spot. It's a $10 reservation fee. You'll get that $10 back to go towards your meal when you get there. It's just our way of actually committing, making sure that we're holding the spot for someone that plans to come. So we ask you to put a little bit on it to make sure that you are there inside the place. So if you're planning to be with us this year, October, for homecoming, also join us for Southside Everywhere Grits and Grace. My name is Deneen Merriweather. I am here as the campus director for Southside Everywhere. And look, you guys, we are recapping the sermon. For those of you who know what we talked about on yesterday, dropping inside the chat. I need the title. I need the scripture. I need to know what's going on. Okay, Sister Graham is already up in here dropping those crib notes inside of the chat. And for those of you who have taken your own crib notes, it's time to share. It's time to help the people out. So when they come catch the replay, they get the message from yesterday. All right, John. So where did Brother Thomas start on yesterday? How did he set this up? How did he navigate this road, this conversation about you don't know what he did?
So yesterday, Brother Thomas came to us and he started off with the story of Esau and Jacob. And y'all know how that was a tumultuous relationship right there. They got off on the wrong foot, literally, because you know that Jacob grabbed Esau's heel coming out the womb to keep him from coming out first. And so you know they had that sibling rivalry going from the get-go. So he started off and he tried to be slick. He gave us about 12 verses to read on the night. He gave us one verse and then said, I'm going to jump over here to the other text and read that. He's like, I'm going to keep on going. I'm going to keep on going. And I was side-eyeing him in the spirit because he knew what was going on with that. So what we got here is Genesis the chapters 27, beginning with verse 41, was the first verse that he took us to show us the mindset of Esau. And what that verse says is that from that time on, Esau hated Jacob because their father had given Jacob the blessing, and Esau began to scheme. I will soon be mourning my father's death, then I will kill my brother Jacob. So he said, in other words, it's going to be on and popping when Pops pass away. There's no more protection for my brother. He going to catch that fade. We're going to go ahead and get our lick back and some more back. And then so Brother Thomas went over there to Genesis chapter 33, beginning with verse 1. It says, then Jacob looked up and saw Esau coming with his 400 men. So he divided the children amongst Leah and Rachel and his two servants and his two servant wives. He put the servant wives and their children at the front, Leah and her children next, and Rachel and Joseph last. Then Jacob went on ahead. As he approached his brother, he bowed to the ground 7 times before him. Then Esau ran to meet him and embraced him and threw his arms around his neck and kissed him, and they both wept. Then Esau looked at the women and the children and asked, who are these people with you? That's why family reunions are important. I'm just going to say that right there. These are the children God has graciously given to me, your servant, Jacob replied. Then the servant wives came forward with their children and bowed before him. Next came Leah with her children, and they bowed before him. Finally, Joseph and Rachel came forward and bowed before him. And what were all these flocks and herds I met as I came? Esau asked. Jacob replied, they are a gift, my lord, to ensure your friendship. My brother, Esau said, I have plenty, Esau answered, keeping what you have for yourself. And that's the word that he started off and gave us on yesterday.
All right, so y'all heard the word. Y'all heard the word. Spread the word. Put the word inside the chat. You don't know what he did. You don't know what he did was the subject. It's powerful because you know those are some of the words that we say out our mouth. He is focusing and leading us to focus on forgiveness, right? So we're talking about this month is the focus on remission, and this series is all about forgiveness. Put it in the chat. I will forgive. Put it in the chat. I will forgive. I want to say last week's topic was let it go. Put it in the chat. Hashtag let it go, let it go, let it go. And our answer or response to let it go is normally, but wait, you don't know what he did. You don't know what he did. You asking me to let it go, but you don't know what he did. All right, John. So where did he go from there?
Yeah, so what Brother Thomas said, as he said, just let it go, because some of us trying to be like En Vogue and hold on, but we got to go ahead and let it go. And so what Brother Thomas shared with us on yesterday was he drew the picture and called back to our remembrance one sad day in Charleston, South Carolina, as people were gathered together to worship, where there was a gentleman that came in to worship with about 11 individuals that were there. And it just so happened that this individual was Caucasian, and these other individuals that were worshiping were African American, and they were worshiping in the spirit, and they were opening up their hearts, and they showed kindness, and they welcomed them in with open arms, only for an hour and a half later for him to open fire and kill them in the sanctuary, because of the hatred that was in his heart. And so what Brother Thomas said was that wasn't just the key point of the story, but what was the key point was that at the trial, while they were going through the legal procedures to try this young man, that family member after family member came up and said to him, like, we forgive you. We are letting go. We are going to not exercise anger or revenge, but we are going to exercise the spirit of release and not hold this against you, even though you have caused us pain, even though you have taken our loved ones, even though you betrayed their trust, even though you misused their love and their care for you. We are going to let it go. We are going to move forward. But that caused and that triggered some individuals, because y'all know how it is. It's somebody, I think Kendrick Lamar said, if anybody touch my son, touch my mama, touch my sister, touch my brother, touch my mama, touch my father, he said, I'll go and get the burner. He's like, and throw it in their lap, walk myself to the court, tell them I did that. And he said that he would turn himself in for the actions that he would take, because he would not let that slide. And some of us are of the spirit, that we ain't letting nothing slide. We ain't letting disrespect slide. We ain't letting a cross word slide. And we ain't going to let any wrongdoing to any of our family members slide. And what Brother Thomas said is that we usually precede that with the saying, you don't know what they did, sort of saying that situations and circumstances and actions taken against us will filter how and if we are going to forgive somebody. And so what he said was that we had to look at the story of Esau and Jacob to see how Esau went from wanting to murder and kill his own flesh and blood to coming to the point that he could embrace him in tears and receive him in joy. So that's how he opened up the conversation on yesterday.
All right, y'all. It was a good story to give that foundation to help us get into the mindset of forgiveness, to get into the mindset of understanding that, even though sometimes we don't understand, we want people to also understand and feel what it is that we've been through. We like to plead our case to let people know, hey, you just don't know what he did to me. You just don't know what she did to me. You just don't understand. It was an actress sometime last week that had a post that I'm going to stop trying to explain myself to people that's working so hard not to understand what it is I'm saying, right? So sometimes we get ourselves in situations or we face certain situations where we want people to understand and stand in our shoes. But at the same time, as we continue to go over this recap, we also need to think of the other person in the other pair of shoes, right? Wanting that grace, wanting that extension, that forgiveness. So John, after he talked about this horrific incident that happened in South Carolina, how did he start setting us up for the points that he gave us about you don't know what he did?
And what he shared with us after that was he shared with us from the standpoint that our breakthrough can come from shifting what we lost and what they did to what God has already done for us. See, sometimes, and a lot of times when it comes to not being able to forgive somebody, we forget how much God has forgiven us and what God had to sacrifice to make a way for us to be redeemed and have things put into remission. We studied that this morning on the morning sip. We forget that remission is a gift. Remission is something that is given to us, but we have to take advantage of and we have to embrace it. And so what Brother Thomas did was that he said that he had to go behind what happened behind the scenes so that we can face times and opportunities where we are given the opportunity to forgive. He says most of us are held back from forgiving because we want to see them and we're waiting on them to experience the pain, the heartache, the anger, the frustration, the abuse, the using, the hurt, the harm that we experience by their action. We want to see them get the payback. We want to see them get, as they say, we want to see them reap what they sowed, because we know that you sow, that you reap more than you sowed in the beginning, and we want to see them catch all of it. We want them to catch it from the beginning to the end. We want to see them catch it from the rooter to the tutor. We want them to feel just as bad as we do. But here's the thing. How many of us know that even after we see them catching their L, that it doesn't help us heal? It doesn't help take away the pain. We often stand in the posture that it wasn't enough, that they still need to go through it. And we want to hold them there a little bit longer, but we don't understand that our forgiveness and our healing doesn't come from the pain that they experienced. Our healing comes from us letting go. And so what Brother Thomas wanted us to go ahead and see, that we had to experience the healing that Esau experienced as well, and how he did that. How was he able to let go of that grudge? Because if we hold on to the grudge, we also prevent our blessings, and we block our blessings from taking place. Because as somebody said a long time, a closed hand can't receive nothing. In other words, every time you shake your fist at somebody, that means that you cannot receive a blessing that God is trying to place in your hand. And so we got to learn how to open up our hands on this evening. And so how did he move from wanting to kill his brother to being willing to embrace him? Well, the first thing Brother Thomas shared with us is that it's the necessity of patience. The necessity of patience. And sometimes what we got to do is that we got to give it space for healing and for the pain, for healing to take place and for the pain to end. And so as we look at that, we see that it was 20 years between the time that Esau and Jacob had that first event and came back and was reconciled together. All right, I see forgive them and pray for them. I see that in the chat, and I say focus on what you can do. I see your Sister Graham, you jumping ahead of me, but that is so good and that is so true. And so what happens is that we say that sometimes time heals all wounds, but what we forget is that we don't control the time. And what Brother Thomas wanted us to see on last night or on yesterday was that just because it took them 20 years to be reconciled doesn't mean that that's the time stamp and the time place that we got to go by as well. Because some of us will say, hey, it took them 20 years. That's the standard. I'm going to hold on to 20 years. No, sometimes you might need 20 minutes. Sometimes you might need 20 hours. Sometimes you might need 20 days. You might need 20 weeks. But you got to let the Spirit operate and dictate the time. The time is not to be controlled by your hand. And then what he says too is that we have to be, understand that we have to let the process of time take place, but we have to remember that there's some work that we have to do in the meantime. See, a lot of us want to wait back and wait for them to change, but sometimes it's us that need to change as well, because God uses time to bring about transformation in either the one that harmed us or in us ourselves, because sometimes we are the person that needs to change. Sometimes it's our perspective that needs to change, but we also know that the other person needs to change as well. And people don't change necessarily overnight. People need some time to change. People need some time and some room to grow. Some people need to go ahead and experience some things. Sometimes they got to go through something that may trigger the healing part of them and say, if this is what it feels like, they start running back the roll and saying who they've done that thing to is like, hey, I need to go ahead and get that back right. I need to go ahead and ask for forgiveness. I need to go ahead and tell that person I'm sorry. But what happens is that we have to be able to get rid of it. But to be able to get rid of it, we have to acknowledge that they are not where God wants them to be. And oftentimes we're not where God wants us to be. And for God to get us there, we had to go through the process of time. And then he introduced this idea that it was not only Esau that needed to change, but it was also Jacob that needed to change. And Jacob, he took us back to what Jacob was going through in his life. We know Jacob started off on the wrong foot. Jacob started off with a bad name. His name meant deceiver. His name meant con man. In other words, from the get-go, he was somebody that was trying to take advantage of somebody else. And the only thing that can get a con man to turn straight is the con man gets con. And we see that Jacob got con not once, but Jacob got con for the double up. Somebody said he got the double up on him. See, because he had to go on the run from what he did to his brother, from misusing Esau. And because of that, because of the run, he ran to his kinfolk. But everybody say, sometimes kinfolk ain't kinfolk, and his kinfolk did him wrong. Sometimes your kinfolk is the ones that can do you in, but that's another sermon for another day. And what happened is that Jacob saw Rachel. It was love at first sight, and he was like, "What do I got to do to get next to? What do I have to do to make her mine?" He said, "Well, if you work 7 years for me, I'll go ahead and I'll give you her hand in marriage." And Jacob was like, 7 years, that's small work. I can do that. And so what happened was at the end of 7 years, when it came to him to get his reward, he didn't end up with Rachel. He ended up with sleepy-eyed Leah. And we know that Leah she wasn't altogether there, but she was the oldest. And Laban said, look, I had to give you Leah first because what would it look like for the youngest to get married before the oldest? And so then he's like, but if you work for me 7 more years, now we 14 years in. We 14 years in. Now we 14 years in. And he said, I'll give you her hand in marriage. And so he ended up having to go double the time that he was expected to go. And sometimes the results of sin will take you and keep you longer than you intended to stay. He only wanted to stay 7 years, but he had to stay for the 14 years. And so that's what he was saying, that it wasn't just the fact that that Esau had to heal, that Esau needed some time to cool down, but also Jacob needed to experience what it's like for somebody to get one over on you and then to move forward in life and be able to be a changed person.
I think that was one of the most powerful points that I took out of point one, was one that God actually gives each party time to grow and to mature. A lot of times we want to have conversations with people. We want to confront people about our upsets and our breakdowns, not really understanding that enough time has not passed for growth to occur. Put it in the chat, #growth, that there's breathing room and space needed for growth to occur. And in order for growth to occur, you got to nurture it. You got to feed it. You got to give it food that will help its nourishment. And if it's not getting that sunlight, it's not getting that water, it's not getting that nourishment, then it's going to be hard for it to grow. Well, it's the same thing as we mature in Christ. We got to continue to stay in the word. We got to continue to pray. We got to continue to have powerful, God-given conversations, but we also need time in order to be able to develop. It's hard to be able to enter into certain conversations when you're not even in this space to receive what it is what the person is going to say. Sometimes you got to be at the right place, right time, right space, right temperament in order to be able to receive what the person is saying. Remember how I said earlier, the actress was like, I'm going to stop wasting time trying to explain, working so hard, trying to explain myself to people that's trying not to understand me. Like, you're working so hard trying not to understand because you want to keep your point, stand your ground, double down on what it is that you believe. Hey, Sister Mathis, so happy that you are here. Please give Brother Mathis our love. Let him know that we are praying for him. And we are praying for the family. If it's anything that you need, I know we may be a couple of hours away, but it ain't nothing to make a trip. I'm just saying, if you need something, please let us know. Please lift up the Mathis family in prayer, you guys. All right, so look, so that was one of the major takeaways I got from point one, the necessity of patience, right? Just giving some stuff, some breathing room, some time. But here was the other thing, the coup de grace, the mic drop that he gave. It doesn't matter. You're not the determining person how long it takes in order for the reconciliation to take place. Your job is to develop yourself, to pray about it, to keep growing, and to leave room. Put this in. Oh, this is a wonderful song by Jonathan McReynolds. #make room, right? We have to make room and space for the things that we want to receive from God. And that is reconciliation, things we need to make space for, to be able to heal some of these relationships that we have in our life. We may not know when it's going to happen, but if you're in the proper posture to be able to receive what it is that God want to bring your way, you can receive the other person when it's time for that conversation to take place. So #grow, #make room, make room, make room, make room, make room, make room. Continue to make room in your life for God to do his perfect work when it comes to patience, because that's what he said, his perfect work. Okay. All right. So John, what was next? I know we got 2 more points. We got five more minutes.
We're going to get to point number 2. We're going to let that third one slide. But here's what Brother Thomas wanted to share with us too. He says that we need to we got to have the need for purposeful pursuit. And then what he said for us is that we have to focus. See, sometimes we are too focused on what we lost, and we are not focused on what God has left us with. And so, or what God has done. And so we have to understand that God has left us with something. And so, in other words, like Brother Chester Mayfield used to say all the time, that we got to use what's in our hand. Focus on what's in your hand. Stop trying to focus on what you lost. Stop trying to focus on what somebody has taken away, because a lot of that you end up giving to them more than what they already taken from you. Yes, they may have done something that hurt your heart and they may have disturbed your peace, but now you're letting them take your joy. You're letting them take your faith. You're letting them take the enjoyment and the pleasure of life. And I'm trying to tell you, don't let nobody have that much power on you. I got to tell you, before you let them have it, you need to go ahead and let them go. You got to go ahead and release it. Before you give them, don't help nobody rob you. Go ahead and just let them go ahead and get away with what they got, because I read somewhere that God is able to restore everything and then some that somebody has stolen from you. So we have to understand, you have to focus on what you gain instead of what you lost. And that's what helped Esau. Esau understood he lost not just his birthright, but he lost the father's blessing. And you know that was going to be a double heap. He's supposed to have a double portion. He was going to be set up. He's about to be set up for life. He's about to have that Abrahamic blessing upon his life. But it was stolen. It was taken from him. But what he came to realize in that 20-year span is that he realized that even though Jacob had robbed him, Jacob had manipulated him, Jacob had hurt him, that God was still blessing him, and God blessed him to the point that when Jacob was trying to give him cattle, when Jacob was trying to give him servants, when Jacob was trying to give y'all notice he put Leah in the front, so he was like, hey, if he want to take Leah, he could go ahead and have Leah, and then he tried to keep Rachel on the back burner, but he sent Rachel as well. But this is what he said when he presented all that. Esau was like, "What's this? What's all this that you presented to me?" And he's like, "It's yours for the taking. If we can be friends, if we can reconcile, if I can keep you from bringing that smoke that I don't want." But here's what Esau said. He's like, "I've got more than enough." And some of us are so blinded on what we lost, we miss out on what God has continued to bless us with and what God has continued to let us gather. And then we're operating from a point of selfishness instead of realizing that we are so blessed. And oftentimes we're blessed beyond measure than we could even imagine. And so what Brother Thomas wanted us to take from this point is that we have to be of the mindset to see not focus on what we lost, but focus on what God has put in our hand.
All right, y'all. That's about our time. I don't know if you got both of them in there, John. The third point was narrowing of perspective. So point one, put it inside the chat because people. But here's the better thing. You can actually check out the replay on YouTube or Facebook and get the points that we weren't able to cover. But look, I'm just going to give you 1, 2, and 3. 1 was the necessity of patience. 2 was the need for purposeful pursuit. And number 3 is narrowing the narrowing of perspective. So listen, you guys definitely want to give a shout out to my sister, Denise Gerardo. Thank you so much for tuning in. Brother Gerardo, thank you so much for logging in and bringing us up. Hopefully it is encouraging you both. Pray. She has an appointment on Wednesday with a specialist. Lift her up in prayer as she continues to charge on, move on, depending on God to restore her health. Thank you so much for the specialist that will be taking a look on Wednesday. And we're already believing God to make progress and continue progress for our sister, Denise Gerardo. And thank you again, Dave, for being here and supporting us and being on live. Again, pray for Brother Mathis is in need of prayer as well. Please keep him on your prayer list. Sister Mathis, thank you so much for being here. Let him know that he is loved and we are thinking and praying about him as well. So look, here's what I want to tell you. Thank you so much for the good lesson recap and the words of encouragement that you all are giving us. I just dropped in the chat. Again, homecoming is coming. All roads lead to homecoming. # all in. # all in. I just put inside the chat. If you want to join Southside Everywhere community, of course, you know, we'll be home for homecoming. We'll travel from VA to North Carolina. We'll get there on Friday for Friday Night Live. From Friday Night Live, we'll have Saturday. Saturday morning kicks off with Grits and Grace. After that, it's Bless the Block party right there at the Southside Church of Christ, 800 Elmira Avenue. And then on the next day, On the next day, it'll be worship beginning at 9 o'clock a.m. Praise and worship at 9 o'clock a.m. Then the worship service will follow at 10. And then after that, it'll be a luncheon. Also, new event that we added to this year's homecoming is Real Fellowship, REEL, Real Fellowship. We'll have a movie night that Thursday. I believe that will be the 2nd. You could go out there. Doors open 6:30. It'll be a movie under the stars, right inside the parking lot. So bring your lawn chairs, bring some snacks. We'll also have concessions there as well. Doors open at 6:30. Movie starts at 7. We'll be watching The Forge as a family. And then again, Friday Night Live that Friday, beginning at 7, from 7 to 9. And then Grits and Grace, 10 o'clock a.m. Register, hold your seat, 10 o'clock a.m. to 12 o'clock. And then from 12 to 4, it'll be Bless the Block Party at the Southside Church of Christ, followed by worship that next morning, 9 o'clock a.m. Worship begins at 10. Be early because y'all know seats go quick. Homecoming weekend. I don't want you in the overflow. I want you inside the main building. But even if you catch the overflow, I promise it'll still be a blessed time. All right, y'all. So look, always looking forward to serving you. You can find us here each and every Monday, 7 o'clock p.m. It is called the Monday Message Recall, where Southside Everywhere recaps the sermon from Sunday morning at the Southside Church of Christ, located 800 Elmira Avenue, Durham, North Carolina. You can get there or meet us there at 9:30 a.m. each and every Sunday. You can tune in on YouTube or Facebook at the Southside Church of Christ, Durham, or you can come and catch the recap here, the MMR, on Monday nights at 7 o'clock p.m. We also have midweek Bible study. It takes place on Wednesday nights at 7 o'clock p.m. I know that we are in a series right now, so be sure to join us there online or on Facebook or also on YouTube or always at the building. Look, we're always excited to serve you. We look forward to meeting you and greeting you at homecoming. Do not miss the opportunity to come fellowship with us at Grits and Grace and during the homecoming weekend. We love you. We'll see you soon. We'll catch you next week when we'll recap the message.
Yeah, y'all come on, put your layaway, put your $10 on that layaway spot for your Grits and Grace. Come on up in there. Y'all know how we do it. And then on, like Denise said, on Sunday, if you come at 8:45, you're already late. You got to be there early. Get your seat, get your parking spot. Let Brother Jaredo help you get into the right place so you can get a good seat. So be there 8:45. If you come at 9 o'clock, you already know that you're late. But we like they say, better late than never. But you want to go ahead and be there and beat us there so that you can go ahead and get be a participant in the activities in a joyful way. All right, family, y'all know what time it is. We love y'all. It's time to go ahead and get something to eat. Take care and God bless.